Thanks for sharing part of your day with us. Good morning. I want to begin with some of the recent developments in the EU. First, an unexpected jump in unemployment out of Germany. The euro recently back down below the 112 handle, which puts it near lows of the year as it continues to struggle to find footing.
Yeah, and that was actually a surprise coming out of Germany, because that has been the one strength that we've seen is what's going on with employment. And the unemployment number was a little bit higher, and so we're getting more pressure here. Almost 2-year lows in the euro here, and a lot of that is still just really based on uncertainty. What the heck is going to happen with Brexit? We talk about this all the time, Ben. The market does not like uncertainty.
Yeah. So it's uncertainty in terms of Brexit, but also, again, these economic data, these numbers have been a little bit of a disappointment.
Terrible.
Let's talk elections, though, and some of the uncertainty about who will be the head of the next ECB. I mean, we're hearing about how we could have a more dovish head of the ECB, but still a lot of unknowns here as far as that goes.
Yeah, no question. And regardless of who it is, they're going to inherit a very, I don't want to call it dire, but they're going to inherit a very troublesome situation here. So it's hard to believe that the stance is going to be anything but dovish at this point.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about, speaking of dovish, we've got Italy's Salvini. His popularity is on the rise as he's been pushing tax cuts and other stimulus measures. It's also, though, Scott, raised some major concerns in Brussels, though, as Italy's debt to GDP ratio has become an issue, and we're seeing some of these concerns reflected in Italian bonds. But many argue a stimulus package is what Europe needs, and I mean, when you take a look at the lift that we got from tax cuts here in the U.S., you can see why.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But, the easy fix that people think about is stimulus. And so I need to see what's behind the stimulus. What is it really going to fix? What you're talking about in terms of the concern coming out of Brussels with Italian bonds, Italian debt, that's actually serious stuff. And in fact, to the point where I think the EU and they're looking to actually fine Italy for not adhering to the strict guidelines that are there. So, there's some serious concerns there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Salvini pushes back on that. In addition to the EU, Scott, we're starting to hear mention of how China's foreign ministry spokesman that's basically responding to the U.S. Treasury report to Congress stating that 9 of our closest trading partners, including China, they need to be watched closely in relation to how they handle and potentially manipulate their currencies to lessen the impact or the economic impact of tariffs.
No doubt about it. The tariff situation in mass, in whole right now, it is very serious. I've been one actually that has kind of poo-pooed it the entire way here, the last 6 to 9 months. And I think we're getting to a very, very important inflection point here, that if we don't start to see some resolution leading up to the G20 here, I think that can really spell lots of problems globally.
Yeah, well, Scott, you're not alone with that. That's probably why the indices are starting to reflect a little bit of that sentiment as well. I mean, definitely coming off. We're talking new lows for the month recently, overnight. Let's talk a little bit about central bank activity, because it's going to start to come back around. It begins today with the Bank of Canada. Any expectations for any change there? I'd imagine for the most part, like many of the other central banks, their hands tied.
Hands are definitely tied. I think it's going to be status quo. I don't think any central bank, and ours included, really wants to use up any bullets yet. Bullets meaning reducing rates at this point, because they're all looking forward here. They're all looking kind of in that crystal ball that they have and say, you know what, things are not so rosy here. We've got to be able to act if things get worse. So status quo, I believe, for now.
All right. Scott, next week, ECB, same thing. I mean, is it mostly going to be rhetoric tied to inflation projections and growth forecasts as well?
Yeah, I think it's inflation, it's growth, but it's also some concerns over tariffs. There's the hot button, there's the hot button here ready to be pushed, and we don't know where Trump and his administration is going to go with that. And I think that has to be almost front and center biggest concern for Europe, the EU right now.